Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I realize we're just out of lunch and you'll be trickling in, and that's fine, and you're welcome. A wizard is never late. I'm Judge Cynthia Wheelis, and I am the presiding judge of the 417th District Court in Collin County, Texas, where I am designated as the court who gives preference to juvenile cases, juvenile delinquency. The sessions in this room this afternoon, the Discovery Ballroom, will all have a juvenile focus or youth focus. Our first presentation explores the transformative impact of positive youth diversion programs as effective alternatives to formal judicial processing. By redirecting individuals away from the traditional justice system, these programs provide crucial second chances that reduce recidivism and interrupt the cycle of system involvement. Our speaker, Judge Angela Williams, serves as Justice of the Peace in Williamson County, Precinct 2, and my personal friend in her county calls her a go-getter, works very well with other judges, and is always willing to step in and help if needed, which tells you why she's here today presenting Judge Angela Williams.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Judge Williams. I serve as the Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2 of Williamson County, and it is an honor to be with you here this afternoon. Hopefully it's not too boring. I know people had their lunch and gonna get sleepy and groggy. So what I would like to do towards the end of my speaking time, I would just like to open it up to the floor for any discussion, any best practices that you have in your courtroom. I found many times as a new Justice of the Peace, I'm serving my first term, and this is my third year in a 4-year term, is that I rely on many of my colleagues within my county and even outside of my county. And having a great collaborative relationship with your judges or your law enforcement officers, if you're a doctor, clinical therapist, whatever field you're in, it's always best to collaborate with your colleagues to find what they may be doing and give your ideas of what you're doing in your area. And that is always some best practices that I've found. Now, as I stated, I am a Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2 of Williamson County. If you're not familiar with your Justice of the Courts, they are often referred to the People's Court. We're the most accessible courtroom to the people. And as a new judge, when I was serving my first year, some of the most difficult and emotional hearings that I hear in my courtroom, although they seem like they're not a criminal offense, they're kind of a criminal civil, as the legislators have changed the truancy laws. But I found truancy court to be very difficult somewhat, and those are emotional hearings. And some of our guest speakers this morning that spoke on autism, and then also the stories of children and grief and loss, it reminded me so much of those experiences that I have in my courtroom dealing with truancy. And that was one of the reasons that I became passionate about mental health and mental wellness and doing the best to my ability in the area that I had to make a difference in those young individuals' lives. And not only in truancy court, but also in evictions. Those are also emotional hearings. And as judges, I try to remove all of the emotion that I may have in that moment and in that hearing to just rely on the law and hear both sides of the story. And so I came this afternoon to talk to you about positive youth diversion programs. And hearing some of those difficult youth cases, many times if you are a judge, you will know and find that you see the child that's struggling standing before you, and then you hear from the parent or the guardian, and sometimes it seems like that may be some of the issue, is that that parent also needs help as well. And that's where these programs that I've helped develop and working with various organizations in my community, I'm building relationships and helping to bridge broken families and hopefully just provide hope in our community. So positive youth programs can have profoundly positive effects on juveniles involved in the justice system by addressing the underlying causes of their behavior, promoting accountability, fostering long-term personal growth, and positive well-being. Setting up your programs. If you do not have your program set up, then that is the first step into developing your youth program and what those youth programs look like. identify and evaluate local community organizations that provide services addressing diverse needs associated with various juvenile offenses. So depending on what your area of focus is, what your court may be, will determine those types of programs that you set up. I have found that while I am a justice of the peace court, a justice court, even one of our district court judges uses one of the same programs that I utilize in our community as well, because it's just a well-rounded recidivism program that works with individuals that have been formerly incarcerated, but they also created a specialized program specifically within my courtroom that we can go on, that I can speak about in a moment. So if you don't have your program set up, the first point is to arrange and greet with those different various organizations in your community. And whatever those organizations may be, usually I work with nonprofits. One of the programs that I was speaking specifically on that the district court uses, it's a program called Jail to Jobs. And it is a program where they take youth and young individuals who have been formerly incarcerated, and then they help them to learn life skills. And within my program, when I court order a juvenile to a GED, they are also going to be court ordered to a meeting with Jail to Jobs, and Jail to Jobs is going to give them information and see if they're a good candidate for their program. This organization, Jail to Jobs, with our students in our truancy court, will take a student, will help them to get a GED or we have online charter schools that we work with as well. And so a high school diploma or a GED, they will also put them into a work program. And within their work program, they have various trades, one of those being plumbing, electrical, and culinary. And so that juvenile that has been troubled throughout our court in truancy, or maybe there were other concerns going on with Class C misdemeanors, if they're court ordered to a session with Jail to Jobs is going to do an assessment on them, determine if they're a good candidate for their program, and see if one of those trades fits within that juvenile's interest. And in the program with Jail to Jobs, they allow them to earn that diploma, earn skills and trades, and then they will receive a certificate at the end of their workshop, which I believe is an 8 to 12 week workshop. So they're learning to also be a good employee. And many of the individuals that work within Jail to Jobs were formerly incarcerated. Sean Oliver is a great example. He was incarcerated for 25 years, and now he was one of the directors at Jail to Jobs, and he has now moved on to Life Anew Restorative Justice. And so many times I've found that young individuals, they listen to someone who can relate to them. Us as judges sitting there, they can't necessarily relate to us. We may try to give them the best advice and whatever that court order looks like, but at the end of the day, it's going to be someone that can connect with that young individual. So think outside the box. I have the boxes listed there. The photos that, actually I haven't gone to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide? I was thinking I had power of it on my laptop. And I have the clicker. Okay, so think outside the box. That's what I was referring to. Thinking outside the box, maybe getting out of your comfort zone, meeting with your organizations in your community, understanding what are some of those needs of the young individuals that are coming through your courtroom. Is it anger management? I also work with human trafficking organizations. If I see young individuals, male or female, coming through my court, and for some reason I believe that maybe they may be a subject to sex trafficking, then I'm going to order them to our sex trafficking workshop. That's an organization that provides information for sex trafficking. All of these programs that I work with, they cost our county $0. It costs the taxpayer $0. And it costs each of you $0 in most cases to work with those organizations. But it does take thinking outside the box, getting outside of your comfort zone, and just connecting with various organizations. So if you see that t-shirt, it says Soul Shine Rhythm Experience. And those individuals in the background are playing, I guess those would be drums, bongos. The last 3 years that I've been the Justice of the Peace in Williamson County, I've hosted a mental health expo. And once more, it costs $0. You get your organizations together, let them know about your event, find a local space that you can rent, and host a mental health expo. In my courtroom, usually starting in March, April, and May, I have my mental health expo in May, I court order my juveniles to the mental health expo because, in my opinion, court ordering them to a program, court ordering them to an event that is bringing positive well-being, bringing them a room full of organizations that can help them and help their family is more beneficial than just giving a fine. I did have recently a meeting with one of our school districts, and it's our truancy coordinator for one of the local school districts. And she asked that I would start enforcing more fines, to which I somewhat took offense to because it's at the judge's discretion of what's going to be ordered. And in my opinion, fines do not teach anything. Many of the families that are coming through our courtroom are struggling financially. I'll see the parents standing before me, they're wearing a custodian outfit from the school district and they had to take time off to come to that court hearing. It's not to give the parents or the student a free pass that, well, they're not paying a fine. But I believe that if we give them and equip them with more tools in their toolbox to be equipped to be better parents, to be a better student, then we are going to help the future. And that's where thinking outside the box. So Soul Shine Rhythm Experience, she's part of my mental health expo. And I did work with her over the last 2 years, and she is creating a curriculum. And if you're not familiar with drumming, drumming is supposed to be very therapeutic. And hearing about the autism issues that we deal with, I found that many of those students that I've court ordered to the Mental Health Expo, I watched them interact with Susie, with Soul Shine Drumming. And they just they're a little timid, a few of them, and I can I'll spot students that I knew came through my courtroom, and I'll say, you know, they're doing a demonstration, go sit down, don't worry, it's okay. And I try to encourage those students to take part in that drumming circle. And they just become alive within that drumming circle. So I'm working with Soul Shine Drumming to create a curriculum that is going to be a benefit to those students that I'm court ordering these various programs to. Okay, so we talked about meeting with your organizations, and it does take time. I also enjoyed our last speaker before lunch speaking on boundaries. I need to set boundaries for myself as well. We also each have to remember about our well-being within each one of us, because I know that we're all running around trying to do as many things and make as many people happy, but we do have to set our boundaries and think about our own mental health. So how positive youth diversion programs support mental well-being? I have listed them out. Number one, reduces the trauma of the legal system involvement. In a justice court, it is the lowest legal jurisdiction, but I find many times that students are standing before me and it's either just for a Class C misdemeanor or truancy. And it's an emotional interaction within that courtroom, regardless of what the issue may be of them standing before you. It's a room full of people in a courtroom. It's an unfamiliar place. And if there are programs that I'm ordering, these students are going to those programs, they're learning things, then it's a benefit to reduce that trauma. It's not that I want to create an image where a student or a parent or guardian walks into the courtroom and they have no respect for the courtroom. It is a very respectful place, and I do expect respect, and I am going to give respect at the same time. But I believe that with those positive youth diversion programs, they reduce the trauma of the legal system. They also build self-esteem and empowerment. And so depending on which organizations you work with, you can help build that young individual's self-esteem and empowerment. Promotes emotional regulation and resilience. One of the most exciting things about my truancy cases that I hear is the school districts invite me to graduations. And seeing the resilience of some of these students, because I'll let them know when they're standing before me, you're gonna do X, Y, Z. And if you don't, you're gonna be back here in a contempt hearing. And it's my hope when they go to those organizations, when they go to those programs that I've worked with, that they do find that hope and they find that resilience. And so when I go to those graduation ceremonies, I didn't tell you at the beginning, but I am a mom of 6 myself. I have 5 daughters, and my son is the baby, ranging in ages from 32 to 13. My husband and I, we've been together for 34 years. I was a teen mom. Some people will say, well, how do you have a 32-year-old daughter? You look too young. I was a teen mom, and I had my own individual struggles as a youth. And I found that many of my teachers within my school helped me to be business-minded. And I had a business teacher who was amazing, and she taught me, even though I had my child, I could still be successful. And so building that resilience is important. One story of resilience within that truancy cases that I've heard just happened this last May in 2025. A year ago, I court-ordered a student to a GED. And he came back to me, and he wanted to have the GED rescinded and go back to school. Well, after he had been in my courtroom many times, I didn't do it. The GED stood, but he called me a year later, which was in April, and I called him on my work phone. I didn't call him on my cell phone, but I did call him just to see what he wanted to let me know. And he talked to my chief clerk, but he said, I just really want to talk to the judge and let her know how she helped me. So I'm thinking this is going to be a great conversation I'm going to have on this phone with this young individual. And he said, Judge, I'm not trying to be respectful, but I hated you. Yeah, and I thought, oh no, what did I do? He said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, he did say that, but I hated you. You ordered me a GED, and I just wanted to go back to school, but you wouldn't let me go back to school. But I'm calling you to let you know that I know you did that, you had to make that decision, but it's made me a better person. And I'm not here to promote GEDs, I'm just saying that in this situation, this is how this turned out. So he said, I'm asking something of you. I could be graduating with my high school, in May. This was in April. But the school district will not let me back in the school. And they said that I had to talk to you. And he told me that he went to the Gary Job Corps, which is in San Marcos, and that he had earned all of his credits to graduate. And that he just wanted to walk the stage. He wanted to do it for himself, and he wanted to do it for his mother. His mother is an immigrant from Mexico, and when she came into my courtroom, she pulled out her American flag and was waving it, and was just sad that she was there with her son in that moment, but understood what had happened. And he said that he wanted to graduate for himself, and he wanted to graduate for his mom. And I said, well, I don't have an issue with you going back to school, but I'm going to need to talk to the school district. So I worked with the school district. I talked to them, let them know I had no issue with him going back to school. And somehow the principal made it possible. There were several stumbling blocks for that young man, and said, no, we're not going to let you do it. But they made a way. And I talked to the principal on the phone. That's another thing with your youth programs. Make sure that you have a good relationship. If you deal with students in the school districts, have a good relationship with your principals. I have many principals that I have a great relationship with. One of the benefits to myself is I went to middle school in my school district. I graduated from my school district. And so I've built relationships over the last 30 plus years. But even if you don't live where you went to high school, you can build those relationships too. And relationships are key. And so that resilience in knowing that this young man was able to walk that stage, and all the other young individuals that walk the stage, is something that we have the ability to help with. And I believe that's when we have those positive youth programs. Okay, number 4, strengthens relationships and community connections. I've been talking about community connections, something that's very important. Programs often involve families, school, and local organizations, as I've discussed. Support networks help reduce feelings of isolation and encourage connection to positive role models. I also have a mentor program that I use, and it takes mentors to run that mentor program, which are all volunteers. But mentors are always a great avenue to court order a young individual to. A strong support system is linked to improve emotional health. And number 5, reduces recidivism and future stress. By addressing issues early, such as substance abuse, anger management, or behavioral disorders, youth are less likely to reoffend. Avoiding repeat offenses reduces the long-term stress and instability often caused by continued system involvement. If we have any justices of the peace with us or any municipal judges, we should all be aware that there is the Youth Diversion Act that was enacted on January 1st of 2025, which requires us by that act, by the law that the legislators created, for that first-time offense that is a Class C misdemeanor of a juvenile, we are to order some type of youth diversion program. And so this is just even more beneficial to work with your programs, have a set of programs, and have a diverse set of various programs. So when you have a juvenile standing before you, I like to have a conversation. And I'll let the juvenile know, now's your opportunity to provide any testimony that you would like before the court, if that's what you would like to do. I read them their rights, obviously, that they do not have to say anything, but I let them know, now is your opportunity to let me know what happened, depending on what the situation is, if it's truancy or a Class C misdemeanor. And then sometimes they don't know what testimony means, so I'll say, this is just a conversation. You and I are just gonna have a conversation about why you weren't going to school, why did you miss 60 days, whatever the days or case may be. And in that moment that that student is standing before me and giving their testimony to me, I'm listening to see what is the needs or what is going on in this young individual's life, so that I'm aware of all of my programs. And that's where it's vital that each of you may have a representative go and meet on your behalf for you, because we're juggling many things throughout the day. But I do stay very involved in my organizations because I want to know. I can read it on paper and somebody can tell me what this organization is about, but I like to go visit the individual, visit the organization, so I know when that student's standing before me and they're stating things, I can plug them into the right program and not just giving them whatever. You know, it's easy just to give the fine. It's easy to maybe work with 1 or 2 programs. Okay, they're getting this one, they're getting that one, this one. But it's best if you have those conversations, have the communication. Okay, how encourages future-focused thinking. It goes back to graduations. When those students do overcome these obstacles that they have, well, then they have future thinking, that they know that they've overcome these difficult situations. Helping youth see a future beyond their current challenges promotes hope and long-term mental wellness. And positive youth diversion programs improve mental health and mental well-being by shifting the focus from punishment to healing, support, and growth. I think that's what some of the speakers spoke on this morning, is healing and supporting. We know, and we heard from the one judge, judges have difficult decisions that we have to make. And the higher up you are in that court system, the more intense those decisions that you have to make are. But I believe, regardless of what that punishment may be, we can still offer some type of program that promotes healing and support at the same time. And as I stated at the beginning, remember to take time for yourself in the pursuit of helping others. This work can be lonely, it can be exhausting, and your mental health matters too. When I first took the bench, there's a district court judge in Williamson County, Judge Donna King, and she's featured in a Showtime series. She's very well known, Judge Donna King, and she made a statement to me, and she said that sitting on the bench is a lonely place, and to make sure that I find my security, I find where I can be happy, and I'm most happy with my family. As I might have said, they drive me a little crazy, and sometimes I feel like I try to take that judge hat off also when I'm with my kids. I know our doctor talked about not being the therapist in her marriage, and with her children, it's somewhat difficult. But you deserve care just as much as those that you serve, and I don't know how we have 20 minutes. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. I truly appreciate the important work that's being done here and the impact that each of you have in your community. and within those community circles. And so at this point in time, just to open it up, I would like to hear, is there a certain program that you have in your county, and I'd like you to state your county, that you have found, and I believe we have our microphones at these two areas, is there a program that you utilize in your community that you found as beneficial for the youth? Ma'am, would you like to step to the mic? If you would just state your position and then the county you're from.
Intimidating doing this part, and I'm short, so. I'm with Collin County, and I'm with LifePath Systems. I'm the Director of Behavioral Health. We implemented multi-systemic therapy services, which is MST, that really we've connected a lot with probation and the juvenile and justice system in our county to be able to, avoid inpatient or any kind of, being incarcerated, try to reduce their probation sentence or how long they were on probation. But it's really targeted for families to help with those behavioral issues or offenses that they've got from either running away, charges, stealing, aggression, different things. So we connect with probation a lot, and they send over a lot of referrals to help avoid any kind of inpatient or staying in jail or anything like that. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I forgot to mention one of the programs that tailored a program specifically for my courtroom where I talked about the child and the parent both needing help and more tools in their toolbox. I work with a licensed therapist, and she created a 2-hour workshop. And in that first hour of the workshop, she works with the child and the parent together in one room. And then for the second hour and the last hour, she separates the children or the students from the parents. And the parents go for one-on-one information, and then the child stays in that room with all of the young individuals. So it's a tailored-based program. Ma'am?
I'm Cindy Porter Gore. I'm now the Chief of Juvenile Services in Collin County, but in July I stepped down from the municipal bench. So I had to do the diversion programs. I had specialized dockets for adults and juveniles. I can't emphasize enough getting connected with your local mental health authority. Mm-hmm. That MST program has been phenomenal because it serves the parents too. Right. And that's the first thing we would do is refer them to our local mental health authority, which is LifePath Systems in my county, for an assessment. If they have insurance, if they don't have insurance, they can set all of that up. They have contracts with substance use providers. They have mental health. They have medical. If I have a child who's needing prescriptions for their mental health issues or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's very important. I think you just have to look in your community. My police department just in the last year started a boxing club. And we have sent a lot of young men, like 12, 13, 14, over there to do that because they build this mentoring relationship. They take all their aggression out in the ring. Mm-hmm. So it's been very helpful, but you just have to look within your community. I ran mine with 0 contracts, 0 money to do it. It was just referrals to local support systems.
I think that's an amazing point. That's where you think outside the box. Most individuals would not think, I'm not going to court order a juvenile to a boxing session, but we know different brains, different thoughts, different thought processes, and reaching that young individual may not be the same way that we think we could reach them. So working with them different programs. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Justice. I'm a family interventionist with MHMR of Tarrant County. And I feel like a resource that we have used in the community it seems obvious, but Texas Workforce Commission, we work with a lot of young adults, and a lot of young adults of this day and age don't really know how to make a resume or know how to download Indeed or LinkedIn or go to a job fair. And so we deal with individuals who are on the spectrum, who are intellectually disabled, they have a mental health disorder, and just kind of empowering them to go to a job fair, go find a resource, go find a volunteer opportunity, whether you've just come out of the, kind of the jailing system, or if you just graduated high school, giving them those resources to know that they have support outside of what they've just come from, I feel like that's been a really great resource.
Definitely. I know in Cedar Park, they have the mental health, the Cedar Park Police Department has the mental health unit, and I've partnered with the sergeant over the mental health unit, even getting connected with your law enforcement officers and your agencies if they have a mental health unit. I rely on Sergeant Pellegrino in various ways. If I know that I have an individual coming to the court, this has not been in juvenile, but it has been in adult hearings, and I know that there may be a mental challenge there, or possibly a mental crisis might be taking place, I call the Cedar Park Police Department, and if you have not worked with a mental health unit within the law enforcement agency, they don't come dressed in their uniform. They come dressed in a polo, and it's to provide that perception to the individual that they're not, they get scared. People, they get scared when they see a police officer's uniform. So our mental health unit shows up in a polo and obviously some work pants, but I work with my mental health unit at the Cedar Park Police Department. Yes.
My name is Donna White. I'm from Aransas County. I work for Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, Diana McGinnis, and she's very forward thinking. I'm a counselor, and so I work off of a grant that the county applied for and won, and so I'm there in the courts doing assessments, getting the kids the immediate, because we're rural, so that was the biggest problem, and we have a lot of underserved population, so I'm there like immediately to provide services, link them with services, do a lot of case management, but also I specialize in substance abuse for adolescents. So that was something that she implemented, and it's really helped, and it's helped our truancy, lower our truancy and our substance abuse in the schools. So
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you're in a smaller county and you have a larger county next to your county, contingent county, reach out to your larger county and see what kind of programs. Some of the programs that I use and utilize are through Williamson County, and it's online. So some things, I prefer an in-person setting program that I work with, but in some situations, not all the programs are doing in-person meetings. So there are some programs that I work with online. So if you are a smaller county, you don't have any, you can't think of any organizations, or there are only a few and you're looking for something else, reach out to your other colleagues. That's where networking at these types of events and other events that you may, seminars, conferences that you go to, I find is so important. I get the information from what the conference and the speakers are presenting, but I found that networking with other individuals that are within the same field, you can bounce ideas off and get additional resources. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, yes, I'm from Nueces County. I'm one of the judges there, and we have our court is CPS and juvenile, along with a couple of other things. But while we do utilize MST, it's great. Not only do they help the parents, they'll come to court with them, and sometimes even show up to court when the parents don't. So that's really worked out very well for us. But I did want to talk about a program that's I guess a subsidiary of a E2E education to employment, and it's called Elevate 361, and I'm from Nueces County, and 361s are prefixes, and so it's probably the second one in the state, and while they work with older youth, like from 16 actually to 24, they are like a one-stop shop, and so we had some of our older teens where we send them over there, and they can help them from anywhere from their getting their driver's license, or setting them up for driving courses, setting them up for GED, getting them back to credit recovery, birth certificate. A lot of these kids don't even have their birth certificates. Counseling to the local community college. It's a one-stop shop. It's really worked out. They also have washers and dryers that you can go there, and the kids can take their laundry. Nice. Food pantries, and actually now are doing clothing too for these older juveniles, and it really has helped us considerably.
And what was the name of that?
It's Elevate 361.
Okay.
And if anybody's interested in I think they're trying to expand. So it's phenomenal. It really, really is. And the kids can go. They also do tutoring. They have computers there for the kids. So it's just, I mean, they just show up, and I'll order them. Most of the time, I'll tell them, you know, okay, they've got to do 361. You've got to, you know, when you come back, you've got this kind, you know, you've got to have your driver's license, or you have to have signed up for GED. Sometimes they talk to the kids and they're like, Judge, you know what? Maybe he shouldn't do GED. He really, you know, has the, you know, the wherewithal to get back to school. And so, yeah, and, you know, it's great. And it's just like a one-stop shop, because you know how hard it is to get them to meetings and things like that. So it's worked really well. And if anybody, you know, needs the contact person, let me know.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes, Judge.
Sorry, Judge. So my director, formerly Judge Cindy Gore, was going to mention also an organization called Youth with Faces. And it sounds very similar to the Elevate 361 for the 214 area. So Dallas is where they started, and we borrowed into Collin County. And Dr. Jazz is phenomenal with the kids. They have food certification, food handling certification programs, GED, interviewing, and all of that. And I'm also going to put in a plug here, because truancy often is the only thing that our kids who are being trafficked are sort of caught on paper for. So I'm going to advocate for Traffic 911, which is our mentoring program. If a kid is showing clear concern on a See It tool, they will come in with their mentors and just work their magic, and the kid gets assigned their own personal person that just follows them through the whole process. And this is even if the child only has a Class C misdemeanor, that I never see them until maybe they commit a juvenile Class B or above. So Youth with Faces and Traffic 911 in the Dallas, North Texas.
Thank you. Judge Krennick?
Judge Williams, I'm Judge Tricia Krennick, Fort Bend County Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Place 2. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to build those relationships with community partners, because under the Juvenile Diversion Act for House Bill 3186, we are not allowed to charge for any of these programs. These programs have to be offered free of service to the children who are placed on juvenile diversion. We've built a great relationship with our juvenile probation department. When I have, whether I have truancy court or we're here having juvenile diversion settings, we actually bring our providers into the courthouse. We bring behavioral health services, our juvenile probation, a lot of our community partners that we've built relationships with. And we've also discovered that in our school districts, where I sit, my court handles 3 different school districts, and one of our school districts has a lot of in-house district-wide counseling programs. We've started inviting those counselors there because we can get these children plugged in. So it's been a great resource, but it really takes, you know, putting boots on the ground, making those appointments, going into the schools, going into your community partners, and just attending and seeing and asking questions, or saying, this is my need, and a lot of times they'll give you great responses back. I did have a question, though. House Bill 3186 allows you to collect a $50 fee. Do you assess that? And if you do you collect it? And if you collect it, do you keep it in a discrete fund, or do you have any best practices for that?
Yes, so I have not ran into a situation that I know of that we have not collected the $50 administrative fee. I did have one situation last week with one youth diversion, and they did not successfully complete because they owed the $50. So in the initial meeting, my juvenile clerk meets with the parent, guardian, and the juvenile, the Class C offending juvenile. If it's unsuccessful or they have not completed everything according to that youth diversion, then we call them in, and I will take the bench and have a conversation with them to see why they have not either completed the program. In this situation, they had not paid the $50 administrative fee. So that was my conversation that I had with the parent. I asked them, are you able to pay the $50 administrative fee? They had no question whether or not that they were not going to be able to pay it, But if they had voiced that they were unable to pay it, we are waiving it. And so for my particular court, the best practice is we've only been doing it 9 months, and we've only had probably maybe a dozen of these cases or so. Now with school starting back up, more than likely we'll be getting more, unfortunately. But I'm waiting for the parent to advocate and say that they're unable to cover that fee. If they're unable to cover the fee, then we're going to waive it. And that's pretty much the best practice, is waiting till they state they cannot pay it. Or I guess, I mean, that's the only way that I can see that. Would you have any other suggestion, Judge? Waiting till they advocate and say they're unable to pay? Yes. And it's my understanding that $50 administrative fee is going into a fund that is then being distributed back through our teen court program. So we have a teen court program, and it's a very robust teen court program. I have 82 teen court volunteers this year. It's a big program. Yes, ma'am. If we need to pay one of those programs, is that what you're stating? That's my understanding. That's why I just try to work with programs that cost no money. There are some of my programs, I let them know, I believe we need to keep our fines or programs under $100 within the truancy education laws. And so if my programs do charge any money, I try to let them know families are struggling. I understand, that you need to come out with something as well. You're expending time. But many of my programs cost no money, and several individuals have stated working with their juvenile services, local mental health. I do those as well. So some of our juvenile services are providing free programs, but I have this one program, Sean Oliver, who was with Jail to Jobs. He does a program called the STOP program, and he wrote a book. And his program costs $25. So I try, but for youth diversion, I can't order that because it costs a fee unless we're gonna offset it. But I usually teen court, I'll waive the fee at teen court. There's not a $20 fee if they're going to teen court with the youth diversion. So our teen court program is free as well. And I think that's almost about all of our time, right? We have 3 minutes. I'll let Judge come up. Did anybody else have a question about setting up programs, or yes? Move to a mic, maybe, yes. 244.
Hi, sorry. Thank you again. My name is Dr. Wright. I am a general child, adolescent, and forensic psychiatrist. I now work with HHSC in the Office of Forensic Services and Coordination. I wanted to say thank you so much for this presentation. It's so helpful, and I really wanted to say how much I appreciate that you talked about the trauma involved in these interactions, because trauma is additive. We know now that trauma that happens in childhood continues. It's not that it stops there. Each episode of trauma that you have, it expands on it. It never goes away. And trauma is also generational. So I was wondering, with thinking outside of the box, if you ever do order people to, or your, well, we don't call them clients and with the kiddos, sorry, it's been a minute since I've done the forensic adolescents, but do you ever order them to Alateen or to something like ACA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics or other dysfunctional families?
I have not integrated that into our court at this time, but we do. So if I have a juvenile who has a minor in consumption, then it could be possible that I would order that at that point in time. They do need to take an alcohol awareness class. So I do work with alcohol awareness. With our tobacco vaping cases, I did create a YouTube video, and that's where I worked with my organizations to speak about the dangers of tobacco and vaping. And with those Class C first-time offense of tobacco and vaping, they're to watch that video. The video costs $0. That's why I created the video. And it's personalized to 3 scenarios of what takes place when a juvenile partakes in a social setting under peer pressure of taking that vape pen and going to the bathroom. So I worked with my teen court kids to create this video. It's a YouTube video. If you'd like the link, I can send it to you afterwards. It's a really fun video. And one of the scenarios, the students go into the bathroom. The young lady takes a puff of the vape pen and she collapses, and it was laced with fentanyl. And so that's thinking outside the box. You can create YouTube videos, and if you're in these justice courts or municipal courts, court order them to watch your video. And when I court order the video, they're to write a handwrite. They must handwrite a 2-page paper. I'm not going to take it printed. They will handwrite a 2-page paper, what the video was about, what they learned, and how they're going to deal with peer pressure and make better choices and the dangers of tobacco and vaping. So that's it. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to me. Thanks.
Round of applause. What a great presentation. Thank you.